This is Jack Owen from 6 Feet Under, and you're listening to Nothing Shocking Podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studio is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on X at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Jack Owen of 6 Feet Under.
Yeah, formerly of Cannibal Corpse. They're promoting their 6 Feet Under's 14th studio album, Killing for Revenge. And what else has he got going on?
The band will be out on tour 2025, co-headlining tour with Nile. It's called the Revenge of the Underground Tour.
Fantastic. Well, August 30th, Ivan Julian, originally from Richard Hell and the Voidoids, will be performing at the Raccoon Motel in Davenport, Iowa. What else we got going on?
All right. Part of Alternating Currents, Ragged Records and Trash Can Annie are bringing band Fax with New Standard Men and Elliott Bay Towers, Saturday, August 17th, 8:30, free for all ages.
Exciting. Let's get to the interview.
Good night.
Jack, welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'd like to introduce to you my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Jack, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, what's happening?
We're totally excited to have you on tonight. So let's get right into it. This past May 10th, 6 Feet Under released the band's 14th studio album, Killing for Revenge. Can you talk to us about the creative process for this latest album?
Yeah, I think I wrote all the music, all at once. I wrote a bunch of fast songs, and then I took a break and wrote a couple of doom-type stoner rock songs, and then got right back onto the fast shit and finished it up. It was a blast writing it.
Fantastic. Well, to your knowledge, how has the band 6 Feet Under, how has it evolved in its writing and recording process from the time, I guess, maybe what you've heard before you joined the band?
Yeah, they're all over the map.
Exactly.
Obviously, in the beginning, they had Alan West writing stuff, and it sounded a lot like Obituary, but different enough to be classic on its own. And then after Alan was out, it was just all kinds of crazy stuff. And whoever was writing it at the time, Swanson and Terry Butler, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So then they get into the Rob Arnold era and Kevin Talley, and then I guess that brings us up to me, which I guess for this one I was writing maybe I would write for my latter era of Cannibal Corpse, just thrashy death metal stuff.
Oh, very good. I guess from what you know from the band of the past, has any of the band members kind of compared and contrast your style to the writings of the past of other band members that have now left and gone on?
Oh, with 16 Under? No. I guess it's to be expected that it's going to sound different depending on who's in the band and who's writing. I do like the Haunted and Warpath era, and sometimes I try to write stuff like that, but it just comes out sounding like bad obituary. And I guess that would just be like plagiarism, so I just write what I feel at the time.
Yeah, very good.
Well, it was such a unique genre. How do you, where do you pull from for your inspiration for your songwriting? I mean, I know the subject matter and stuff like that, but how's it work for you as far as, picking stuff to write about?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I have a riff archive, and for a while I was using drum tracks from like Steve from Deicide or George Colias, and the riffs would come out sounding like that, I guess. But I don't know. I just tap into old stuff that I still listen to, like Creator and Dark Angel and Pestilence, Razor, Sacrifice. I don't know. I guess I'm just always trying to write the next Razor, Violent Restitution, but it never comes out sounding like that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Jack Owen archive of music. Is there a lot of unreleased songs in your archives, or do you pretty much try to release everything that you write?
Oh, I got hundreds of riffs archived. I have another album of 16 Under stuff written. I mean, I have enough songs for an album, but I'd like the other guys to chip in on the next one. And then there's goofy crap that I write when I don't have a solid idea for an album or a band that will never see the light of day. I just send it to friends.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, we've talked to some other, death metal artists and stuff where they kind of do that. They'll dabble into some other type of genre of music to, see what they can come up with. Have you thought about trying to, do a little side project band or anything?
It's hard up here. There's nobody to jam with, but I don't know. I'm kind of putting something together with a buddy in South Dakota, but like I said, it's hard to put everything together and not have a label to put it out. But I've just been putting out what I've archived on my YouTube channel, like a country album that I wrote, and my rock band Adrift, kind of throwing that stuff on there, and also like before I got my drum writing program, I was using drum patterns from a guy that's on YouTube. He would just like write whole songs of drums, and I would like write stuff to that. So I got a couple things on YouTube like that, just like the drum patterns that I used for a song, and maybe that will help people write riffs or write songs.
Oh, very good.
Oh, that's cool.
Killing for Revenge marks the second album that you and Chris Barnes worked on since you're reuniting from the Cannibal Corpse days. Can you give our listeners an insight to the reuniting with Chris, and all these years later, did it feel like it was like the good old days back in Cannibal Corpse, or was it some kind of getting used to again?
Yeah, it was totally back to like the early 90s or even the late 80s when Cannibal was first together. Everybody would write everything, and that vibe was really cool. So, yeah, I had been in touch with him ever since he left Cannibal, and then I left Cannibal, and, just over the years, keeping in touch. And I noticed he had one guitar player, and I said, if you need anybody, let me know. And he's like, yes, we do, so let's go.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, one of the things I like asking about, I mean, this is your second album with 6 Feet Under. The album covers are pretty cool and unique. Can you talk a little bit about the band's concepts for album covers, and how is there a specific artist you work with, or how's that work for the band?
As far as the new one, we actually did call up Vince Locke, who did all the Cannibal Corpse album covers, and I think it's always the same with Vince. You just send him some song titles and lyrics, and you just send sketches, and one will just stick out, and you go with that. And the artwork for Killing for Revenge is definitely based on Accomplice to Evil Deeds, the second song, which is about it's actually about Corpse Grinder. That's where the whole concept of that song came from. I had a dream. It was me and Corpse Grinder in a shack in the woods. He was killing people, and I was his accomplice. So that was an idea that we sent to Vince, and when he sent back this thing with the shed or the shack and the heads on the pole, we're like, yeah, perfect.
Nice. Fantastic. Well, my favorite track on the album is When the Moon Goes Down in Blood. Talk a little bit more about the writing for that track. That song stands out more for me than any of the others. Talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, very different on that one. I think it was the last song we wrote, and Chris wanted something old school, like Butchered at Birth or Tomb of the Mutilated, and I actually did put on the Butchered at Birth album, and I was listening to the song Living Dissection, and I really just wanted that kind of out-of-control locomotive beat that Paul Mazurkowitz does. So I got the tempo of that and made the beat in my drum program, and then everything just fell into place. Once I had that beat, it was like I started writing the riffs like they were in 1992. Just all diminished runs and a lot of chokes on the drums, and yeah, very old school. I like that one. How it came out. It's perfect.
It's fantastic.
I saw also that you guys have a big tour coming up in 2025, I think with Nile, co-headlining tour, Revenge of the Underground tour. Can you talk a little bit about what fans can expect for that tour?
We're going to concentrate on a lot of older material, classic 6 Feet Under stuff, because we haven't toured America since I've been in the band, since like 2016, 2017, and I don't know when they've toured it before that, maybe 2012. So we'll concentrate on classic stuff and throw in a couple new ones. Talking to a buddy, he's like, hey, I'm coming out to Orlando, and like, cool, getting all excited, and then we're like, oh wait, it's like 8-10 months away. The earth could be blown up by then, but hopefully I'll see you there.
When it comes to 6 Feet Under, designing a set list for, you have 14 studio albums. Yeah, how is it? Do you guys kind of vote on what songs to play live, or how does it work when it comes to set list design?
Chris just does that, and he rehearses on his own in Seattle and just does the songs that are comfortable for him and in an order that he likes, and he sends it over to us, and we're like, okay, cool. We just have to manage the tuning. The tunings are different, so we manipulate the tunings of the songs so we can play them all on one guitar. But they end up sounding heavier, so that's cool. Putting it together is really Chris.
Nice. Well, with that said, managing the can you talk a little bit more about managing the tunings, and how many guitars do you take with you on tour?
Man, I try to just take one.
Wow.
And we've just been, early stuff is in D standard, and then I wrote some in A, and now I'm writing in A and D. And in the middle there was a lot that was written in C. So we take one guitar tuned to C, and anything in D will obviously be tuned down to C, so it'll sound even heavier. So yeah, I just do that like a gig bag and take it on the plane, like the lightest guitar I could find.
Well, yeah, that brings up a funny question, I guess, is that we've talked to so many artists that bring a battery of guitars with them on tour.
Yeah.
Did you used to do that in your younger day, or have you just kind of lightened your load as you've gotten older, or how has it worked over the years?
It depends on the tour, because before pandemic, we were doing maybe 10 or 12 shows at a time in Europe, and we've got a backline over there, so I really just need a guitar and a floor preamp. So that's the way that worked, and then obviously for America, I can take a little more stuff, at least my amps, cabinets, and 2 guitars at least.
With your dual role of guitarist and producer for Killing for Revenge, how challenging has it, or was it for you to wear both hats during the collaboration of this new material?
Oh, it was a blast. Writing it, and then I wrote the music, and then I had some lyrical ideas for Accomplice. So I put them on my multi-track and sent them to Chris, and he said, that's awesome, do all of them. So I did, and he liked them, and he chipped in where he wanted to and needed to, because all my stuff can't be good. And I don't know, producer's just a title. I kind of had to Google it because I was like, what is your role? And it's really just like approving the mix. So and everybody had a hand in that. So obviously we're from four corners of the country, so everything we did was mixed in Denver and approved over Dropbox. So it was like, okay, everybody's producing.
Absolutely.
I think I also read, I can't remember who it was, labeled you guys as like the fourth best-selling death metal act in the U.S. Has that really hit home yet, or can you talk a little bit about how that works as far as the band? Are you guys working to move up the ranks a little bit?
Oh, it's hard to say in this era, like what's gonna hit and what's gonna miss, and what you can do, like as far as iTunes and downloads versus vinyl. You know, where is the bigger fever? It's always vinyl for me, but you never know. And CDs, got to print some CDs. Oh, and you got to do cassettes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're coming back.
Yeah, it's like I've had all this stuff since like I was a kid. I guess still got my cassette deck on my record player. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, CDs are hot now because they don't make them anymore. I'm like, what? I still have like 500 CDs in
that. Well, in this day and age, with technology being what it is for recording new music, you have the luxury of being able to record a whole album in your home or in different homes, and you Dropbox them together and you mix them. You don't even have to get into a proper studio any longer. But for you, where's your heart at? Do you still like getting into a proper studio with the rest of the band and knocking the songs out, or do you like just having the luxury of doing it in your own home separately?
Oh, let's see. Jeff, the bass player, and Ray, the guitar player, did their stuff in their home studios, or maybe a friend's. I went to Florida to Audio Hammer. At least I like tracking my stuff in a real studio. But yeah, I mean, anybody can do any format these days. I mean, Trey from Morbid Angel does all of his leads at home and just flies them onto the album. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I would like to bash it out in a real studio.
Do you find that the ability to record new music, it remotely instead of getting together and collaborating together, is it good for the business to be separate instead of together when it comes to recording new music?
No, I'd like everybody to live in my little town so we can jam and write together. But that's just how it is now. Like, we all moved to Florida, and then we all moved out of Florida, like all over America.
Yeah.
So that's the way it kind of evolved.
Yeah, very good.
Well, I guess talk about that a little bit as far as keeping the band dynamics together when you're all living separate and apart. Do you guys stay in pretty regular contact, or how does that work for the band?
Yep, we're always in contact, like a group chat or group text and about everything that's going on, and everybody chimes in. And since I've been in the band, these guys have been like brothers to me, like just jumping in and going on tour, not knowing what to expect, and everybody's really cool and really mellow, so it's all good.
Oh, very good. In this part of your career, what title do you hold in the forefront, in the now, opposed to when you first started your career out as a professional musician? Is the songwriter first, or guitarist first, or vice versa? Where does it fall in line for you?
I think I've evolved more into songwriting because I write songs more than I actually play guitar or practice guitar. I should probably rehearse more before I lay tracks down, but yeah, I love writing songs. I mean, I'll just put anything down and make it into a song, and then if I don't have lyrical ideas, I'll at least put like fake lyrics on it that are just grunts and groans, or I read from a book of poetry and something might fit over it until I have lyrics. So yeah, I like the whole process of songwriting.
So, I mean, you've been in 6 Feet Under, Cannibal Corpse, and Deicide are probably some of the biggest ones you've been in. Talk a little bit about, you were part of a founding member of Cannibal Corpse. Can you talk a little bit about like where were you before that? Like how'd you get into music?
Oh, my dad was a guitar player, just like goofing around, and he played in the military and stuff. So he had guitars laying around, and my mom was a piano player at our church. So musical family and instruments laying around. So I picked up my dad's guitar and broke it, and he got me my own. So I was off and running, and my oldest brother didn't play any instruments, but he always had the cool vinyls laying around to check out. So the confluence of Kiss and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and my dad's old Gibson acoustic just kind of grabbed me and then pulled me in, and I evolved into the heavy shit. I think from Kiss, it went into like Iron Maiden and Motorhead and Venom, and then it's on.
Outside of the death metal genre that you're so known for, is there any other genres of music that pulls you? Like, say, hey, I wouldn't mind trying to do something on the jazz side or something in the, some other genre outside of death metal.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of Hank Williams III, and he captured like kind of vintage sound. I have a huge vinyl archive of classic country vinyl from like Ernest Tubb all the way up to Buck Owens and Merle Haggard and Waylon Jennings. I'd like to do something like that, but it's hard to do in this digital era, How do you get the analog sound without having that equipment?
Exactly.
It's like I saw your podcast archive, and it was like, oh, cool, Paul Mazurkowitz and Sammy from Goatwhore, and then I'm like, T.G. Shepherd and Mo Bandy. I'm like, what the hell? I got their records.
Well,
funny.
we find it to be that to be truly alternative, you just can't stick with one genre. We want to bring everybody in and to be, I guess that's the true meaning of alternative, of just bringing in everything. So, I want to go to the next question here. Is that you were a founding member of Cannibal Corpse, in which you were part of 12 albums. You spent time in Deicide for 4 albums, and now 6 Feet Under, two albums for 6 Feet Under so far. Can you compare and contrast the process of creating music from 6 Feet Under to Cannibal Corpse to that of Deicide? How is it similar, but how yet is it so different?
Just writing.
Yes.
Cannibal was like, we were just a gang of punks in the beginning, and everybody was writing at a feverish pace and just try to cram something in. That's why we had so much material and so many albums. And eventually that evolved into everybody write your own stuff and bring it in already complete, which was cool. I think that was when we got Corpse Grinder. He didn't write lyrics, so we would write lyrics for what we were writing musically. So we would just put it all together as one and bring it in. And then with Deicide, it was hard to shoehorn stuff in there. I was trying to write, try to write stuff for 6 Feet Under that sounds like the first album. I would try that with Deicide, and it just didn't work. And just try to squeeze anything in I could. I couldn't write lyrics because Glenn writes all the lyrics for Deicide. And then musically, Steve, the drummer, is a multi-instrumentalist. Plays awesome classical piano. And obviously, he's the drummer, and he plays killer guitar. So he would write stuff just nonstop. So, yeah, just try to get in what I can, and it sounded kind of thrashy. And then when I was done with that, 6 Feet Under was around, and I think Chris kind of gave me the first album to do on my own. I just did all the music for Nightmares of the Decomposed. And I wasn't ready to write, so that's why it didn't turn out very good on my part. But now, with the home studio, a multi-track drum program, and all the stuff I need, I think I'm in a comfortable spot.
Oh, very good.
Well, I know the band 6 Feet Under has, I think, 3 live albums prior to you joining the band. With you guys getting ready to do this big tour coming up, is there any plans to record any of the material for either an EP or a future release?
No, I doubt it. We're throwing around another Graveyard Classics, which would be music from one artist that we haven't really picked yet. So we're looking at that, and like I said, I got enough music for another album, music and lyrics. So, live album, I don't know if it presents itself. Sure, we're pretty tight when we play live, even though we never rehearse.
Well, as you look at your body of work in Cannibal Corpse and Deicide and now 6 Feet Under, do you have a favorite album that you were part of? And then on the flip side, do you have an album that you say, man, I wish I could have a redo on that one because that was not my favorite?
Right. Cannibal, probably The Bleeding, just because the whole writing process was over the winter in a freezing haunted house. So that was, and the evolution of the band at that point was just like total sweet spot. Deicide, probably Stench of Redemption, because it was all written by Steve. He just gave me a VHS tape of him playing all the riffs on an acoustic guitar, not in any song format, just like 1,000 riffs. And me and him wrote that album in like 2 weeks. Wow. Just going to the shed. It's like I would go home and grab all the riffs that sounded good together and then go into practice. Okay, I got all these together, done. And then I think some days we put together like 2 songs in a day. So that was awesome. And then once we got Ralph to play leads on it, it was like, wow, this is killer. And then as far as something that for a redo, probably that last 6 Feet Under, Nightmares of the Decomposed. There's some good stuff on there, but if I was writing it these days, I probably wouldn't be as much groove on there. I think I was trying to, concentrate on what a 6 Feet Under fan would like from the early era up to the modern era, and that was the wrong approach, probably. Just write what you feel.
Yeah, very good.
You had mentioned earlier your rock band Adrift. They had one album, I think Absolution, in 2007. Can you talk a little bit about that band and your experience with that album?
Yeah, that was like just fun, and we practiced where Cannibal Corpse practiced for years in Tampa. So we just got it going when I was still in Cannibal, and I had my best friend sing on the early demos. And, it's hard to remember now, but it's really just for fun. And there was a lot of motivation because, a lot of people hadn't been on an album and hadn't toured. That's all they wanted to do. Go on tour. And, motivation was there, but I guess we skimped on the songwriting.
I have one last question for you, then we'll let you go for the evening. I asked this question to a lot of our guests. The mystery of rock and roll is no longer around with the dawning of social medias on the internet, and we have a lot of them. There is no big mystery with bands anymore. But for you, the artist and also the fan of rock and roll, which do you prefer, this new age of accessibility, or do you miss those old days of the mystery of what Kiss and Zeppelin were? And we can just go down the list of many bands.
Sure, I like it now because I usually find a band I like, and then I look at the label and the other bands that they have. It's kind of like what you would do back in the day in a magazine and order it by mail order, but now you can just go to the label's Bandcamp and check it all out. So I like the accessibility. There's so much stuff, and people say, whoa, there's too much music, and I'm like, I don't know. I have a pretty big appetite. I have a huge pile of vinyl right here that I haven't listened to. Everything from the Ventures to Randy Travis to Immolation. There's it's opened up to the T.G. Shepherd album, and comedy albums, and more old country. It's like, yeah, I have a huge appetite for music, and I can't be the only one.
Absolutely. Well, we're out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
Nope, I think that's it. I think we're trying to fill in the off dates on the Nile tour. And between Chicago and where was it? Omaha? I thought for sure we'd put in Rockford or Peoria, but I don't think we did.
I think Joliet might be on there.
Oh, yeah. Yep, Joliet's on there. Yeah, between Joliet and wherever, I think we put in, like, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
I went to that Morbid Angel show where the tornado, or I almost went to the Morbid Angel show in Rockford where the tornado caved in the roof.
Yes.
Because I'm like a half hour from Rockford. So, of course, I had tornado warnings out here, and then that happened. It's like I could see it on the radar. And, man, that was crazy because Steve Tucker is a close friend of mine, and he's like, dude, the roof caved in. There's dead people.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just had tornado warnings last night or the night before.
We just had them. We just had an EF2 come through here 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Well, this is how things are going to work out once we're ready to let this be released. Jeff, the editing wizard over here, will get this thing all cleaned up and make us sound like $1 million. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Jack.
Yeah, thanks, Jack.
Cool.
Take care.
Take care, guys.
says their last goodbyes. Move to
if they ever take from you, then you plug out both their eyes. They roll the dice. Take your chances.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.